Hey everyone, nice to see you again. We're going to learn more about the interesting lives of older narcissists today. We learn that getting older is a unique journey as we make our way through this rough land. Our health might get worse, our fears might come up, and the fact that we will die is a big deal. We can learn more about who we are though, even in this tough situation. Join us as we search for the deep truths that will guide us. We talk about how our goals and views change as we get older, like how to find inner peace and make relationships last. Please remember to like, join, and click the bell to stay up to date on our research into psychology and real-life events. Let's begin this trip that will instruct us. Of course, it gets harder for selfish people like me to say, thank you, as they age. As the years pass, and their selfish fuel runs out, people think of them as weak, insecure, and mean. Some narcissists are really very weak, and as they get older, they lose the things that made them seem important or deserving to other people. Lucky for them, more people are finding out about them, so they have to live with fewer people. Their clean tricks start to fail. They can't assume that people will do what they want just because they are pretty or friendly. In a culture that values youth, people who aren't pretty anymore aren't useful. They feel lost because they lose control and power and have low self-esteem. After a while, the narc has to face a painful truth. Their normal ways of getting narcissistic supply are beginning to break down. People who are arrogant are built on weak and rough ground. Strong-willed people meet around a fireplace with homemade broth and a sense of belonging. This kind of person is mentally stunted or socially small, and they can't connect with others on a deep level. To keep their weak egos up, they rely on other people's shallow opinions and support. It's getting harder and harder for these older people to keep depending on this need for approval from other people. It gets hard for narcissists as they age because the things they do don't work anymore and social rules change all the time. They will often be mean and rude, try to get you to do things, or act better than everyone else because of this. It takes a narcissist a long time to lose abilities in both mind and body. At this point, they don't show any pain or kindness. That was them when they were strong and important. Now they're just poor, hung thieves who steal from other hung thieves. They freak out and get mad that this gross, grunting child is really them when they look in the mirror. That's really what tuitions are protesting against, being so bored that it feels like it will swallow them up. They're not used to being alone or sad because they are always liked and praised. While most people get wiser and reconnect with old friends and family as they get older, narcissists choose to stay the same. Instead of thinking on themselves, looking for ways to grow, and getting better, they become the worst version of themselves. Old narcissists will no longer be able to live in their dream, and it's hard for them to accept that things are getting worse for them. As time goes on, they become more and more lonely and unhappy, which is a terrible sign of what happens when you try to please everyone. That lowercase n word who drains you so much that it's almost impossible to believe that you made it through 2 weeks. The narcissist fights getting older just as hard and as often as everyone else. They don't want to age well, and they fight time so much that they don't learn from its lessons or gain knowledge along the way. As they get stronger over time, they become like still ponds that don't grow anything. With time, they gain knowledge and a calm way of life. They are trying very hard not to lose control over the people around them as their old sense of power fades and their hidden personalities start to show. Because of this, they become angry, defensive, and hard to get along with. As time goes on, our true selves grow and show who we really are. What we think this truth means is that if you were kind when you were young, you will become an even nicer person as time goes on. On the other hand, people who hold on to bad thoughts find that they become stronger over time. For the narcissist, on the other hand, getting older only makes their worst traits worse: hopelessness, delusion, anxiety, anger, loneliness, and abuse. The old ego still can't become wise or humble because its sense of privilege keeps pulling it in. Time doesn't make them more grown, instead, it makes them more demanding. They think everyone will always do what they want and listen to every word they say. But deep down, they are the most insecure people I have ever seen. They take out their feelings of unfulfilled wants on others through rants and other acceptable forms of indirect manipulation. Manipulating people is the best trick older egos know how to use. Witch doctors is supporting and perfecting gaslighting because they have been doing it for years. By ruining people's lives and getting them to join their group, you help them carry out their plans perfectly. A lot of our layers are being taken off, and life is beating inside us like drums, making noise and screams. Even narcissists lose their shine over time, so this is true for everyone. The old narcissist will do all sorts of things to stay in control, at the very least through guilt trips or illnesses. For more power, they will lie as sacrifice or cause harm while pretending to be in defense. They use the fact that people feel bad for them being old as a tool. At first, older narcissists may firmly refuse to accept this creeping truth, clinging to the memories of their youth. Putting every little wrinkle and gray hair under a microscope because they want to look young even though society doesn't like people who look older. But there is a greater truth behind this mask. People who are smart just because they are smart and only care about themselves. Those who make it easier to trick and make jealous as they get older. They feel envious when they see other people being successful and happy, mostly because it makes them think of what a terrible failure they are. Sadists don't accept that getting older means getting wiser, which is a natural part of the process. Their never-ending need for love and respect gets stronger as time goes on, which makes them do bad things because they know they are getting older. They are always angry and bitter, which makes them hard to get along with. Many people find real happiness in life as they get older, especially in their 50s. But this is the kind of time that makes narcissists crazy. They've spent their whole lives being in charge and on top, but getting old is something they can't control. These are the older narcissists who have ruined a lot of relationships. People who have finally gotten rid of the guy from hell did so because being close enough to smell him made their skin crawl. Their older children have been manipulated by them for years and know how sneaky they can be. But they will keep abusing them until they stop talking to them or cut ties completely, which is sad. Narcissists have a harder time when they get old and can't pay their bills. Because they are known for showing off their wealth in a showy way, many of them travel the world trying to throw parties to show how much money they have. But as their assets are used up, the lack of money quickly turns into a new form of stress that makes their problems worse. We do, however, have vacuum-mouthed spendthrifts who will waste every penny they can get their hands on and more to feed their expensive habits while getting deeper and deeper into debt, which may also make them more likely to be asset-stripped in old age. As narcissists get older, they feel like they don't fit as much. They also want to be in charge and feel important, so their morale is falling as they get older. They do this to keep their frail sense of being better than others. They feel better about themselves when they put down other people because they are different, like because they are black or speak a different language. This is to keep them safe from their own fear. The idea that they are gods is kept alive by their defensiveness. Narcissists are amazing at making even the smallest problem, flaw, or error seem bigger than it really is. As people age, their ideas about what makes them happy become less reasonable, leaving them unhappy. As their sense of self-importance slowly fades, their ego is as fragile and unstable as it gets, and they can't deal with what some parts of them see as flaws or limits. Because they don't want to deal with the shame of their fall, they lie and trick others by making up stories that make it seem like they're not worse than other people. Narcissists get worse with age, which is a terrible thing to say. It may seem crazy, but narcissists only become more self-centered as time goes on. They were once praised for their good looks, money, and brains, but that has stopped a long time ago. Now the focus is on the person you can love just as much, if not more than anyone else, yourself. It's a problem because getting older makes people emotionally and physically weak, which only narcissists can do. It means they really feel bad about what they did to other people when they were younger. The fear of getting revenge from people they've hurt in the past made them feel guilty. Narcissists have no idea what it means to be accountable. They will never get it. They also blame others for what they think are their mistakes because their anger is so high. While they play the blame game, they lose the power and respect that were once theirs, along with their mind. I still can't picture taking responsibility for a life that has failed. Their anger, spite, and hate get stronger as they age, until they are sure that the world owes them something for being born. If they remember anything, it's just enough to help them forget how bad they were. They then spend most of their time feeling sorry for themselves, which makes them vapidly smug in a story where everyone is a victim. They hold on even tighter as they age and lose control over what they do or think. The more defensive they get, the faster they give up when someone asks, "What gives you authority over me?" An old narcissist's patience started to wear thin, and his emotions became more violent. The truth is that most people, even those who seem calm and collected, are actually hiding anger that they'll blow when provoked. Narcissists who are older think that because they feel better than everyone else, they don't need to be controlled. They use their age as an excuse to hurt someone and get away with it. They don't understand relationships and can't make lasting connections because they are only interested in their own lives. They only know themselves and expect others to love them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week while taking care of their every whim. They are naturally predatory and feed off the lives or work of people they think are under them and therefore owned. When you're an older narcissist, dealing with their drama and crazy behavior is hard. It's sad to see them age and their final act begin to fall apart. For many of us, this happens when we grow up alone and don't have any family or friends to lean on. Meanwhile, the narcissist who bullied their way through life has been abandoned by everyone they harmed in the past, and they have shrunk from a great alpha of parts, they hoped, to mere pathetic fragments living off borrowed light. Vanity was always with them in their youth, but now it often leads them into bad relationships. When they reach middle age, they are less likely to get married because their children are grown up. They are cut off from all of their connections and bridges, and they turn to a life more complete in its penultimate freedom, with only the sound of a life drained and ready for death's hollow shell. In the last few years of their lives, they've seen their power and control slowly slip away, and all forms of life are disappearing one by one in a vacuum that, other than grandiosity and Webb's FLE, gets bigger and bigger until it becomes nothingness and no light shines through it. But in the fallout, all you are is a weak person who is afraid and lonely and can't face the harsh realities of life. Even if you think your old self is better than the new one you're building or more suitable for the situation, don't let down your guard. They are in your thoughts, feelings, needs, wants, goals, and dreams because even though they get older, your life probably turns into a living nightmare, especially after the adulterer leaves. Ego is tough no matter what age. Age doesn't make people wiser or more humble, it makes their old ways of doing things stronger, which makes them twice as dangerous enemies. This is why it's so important to protect yourself from being manipulated, mistreated, or exploited by them. Please be aware of these boundaries and be aware